Good afternoon on what is a cold, grey and blustery day. It is Tuesday the 10th of December and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a box to continue unboxing. And what I've got in here is a copy of The Game Changers, how playing games change the world and can change the world and can change you. This is by Clare. Why is playing games a universal human instinct? Why did the same games evolve across wildly different civilizations? And how can those games make your life happier, healthier, and more fulfilled? So, yet another book about board games. I'm not saying yet another book about board games. That's a great thing. And it's actually been a really good year, 2024, for books about games in general. I don't know whether that's all tied in with the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons, but it just seems to be a lot of books about games having been published in 2024. So, games like poetry are an invitation to break free from the tyranny of efficiency. That's the irony. Their unimportance is their power. We don't need to play. A game isn't a fire to put out, a shelter to build, or a boil to lance, and so it offers a mode of human behaviour, a way of being that is not available anywhere else. The history of board games is really the history of human civilization. Through it, we see how our species has learned to live with one another, make deals, take on different roles, and manage the ups and downs of luck. In this entertaining and thought-provoking look at games through the ages, Clare explores the legal highs of a good dice roll, the thrills of a predatory race game, and the tactile pleasures of the games that age us through our lives to discover how, through play, we become fully ourselves. Drawing on Roman anti-cheating devices, organised crime card syndicates, and the combative domestic bonding ritual of Monopoly, The Game Changers explains why games are more popular now than ever and how playing them helps us learn to be better losers, make smarter decisions, become more human. So that's, really extolling the virtues of gameplay. That's one of the things that people do in these books. They tend to talk about how good games are and how they make us better and more interesting people. So here we've got the contents page. It basically says there is the obligatory Monopoly chapter. We'll get to that. We've got the introduction. And really starts off with dicing with death. Basically, so it looks to be sort of like the two murderers dicing over what to do next. But then it switches. Essentially, the next section is to err is human, and then that's a bit of a play on words, as in to err is human. Where the here is referring to the royal game of thousands of years old, been resurrected through Dr. Ivan Finkelman at the British Museum, I believe. Comes a bit more up to date with things like the Goose Get stuff, like the Great Goose Race game. And yes, it does have to say the obligatory Monopoly chapter, and you have to say you look at the games that most of us grew up with were a mixture of Scrabble, Monopoly and Cluedo, or Clue, and they're all bad, and they're all not great games by any stretch of the imagination. And then we get on to role play, which does touch a little bit upon role playing, because it just says technically alternate version of the Warhammer universe. The game is Blood Bowl, so it's talking about touching a little bit upon that world, but not really delving into that because it's not its raison d'etre, its aim of the book. Talking about Uno, another sort of card game I don't really play because it's really there are more interesting games to play and so on. But yeah, it's Deck of Many Things. Is essentially that's talking about Pokemon and similar card games, but the Deck of Many Things is, you know, it's an interesting reference that this book doesn't deal with, and then and so on. So, yeah, just talking about essentially the author's experiences with board games, some of these played, talking about how good they are. And then we've had roll and move, as in basically rolling the dice, roll and move. Hopefully this is where I sort of like does begin to move into playing roles and that sort of thing. Before kind of coming up to date with the golden age of board games, in which we really are at the moment. You know, there are so many coming out each year. You know, just too many to keep track of. Anyway, bookends, we've got the classic kind of set of notes and references, acknowledgements, and that's it. And then author's blurb on the back flyleaf there. So yeah, I think that's another book you're going to want if you're interested in history of board games, board gaming culture, and so on, and how obviously just telling the story of how one person interacted through the world through his play of board games. So yeah, that's the Game Changers. Anyway, I do hope you enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you did, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me out here with a box containing a book or game or role-playing supplement and so on. In this case, a book about board games, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching another unboxing in the Nook. I'll be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.